10 o'clock, Tuesday the 18th of October. I am doing double duty this evening just in case the weather fails on the morrow, plus the fact the moon is waxing. So I am going to complete all the way up until the, probably take it NGC1. We're now at NGC7800. It's a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 12.6. Largest, 2.3 by 1.6 arc minutes. It's an irregular galaxy, a mere 77 million light years distant, which pretty much puts us at around 30 to 40,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus 15 degrees. Everything is getting close to culminating. We are probably going to get some blockages of the far more northern galaxies this evening, but let us push on. NGC7802, like NGC7801 and 7800, I wonder why we're, oh yeah, there was an open cluster as 7801, are into the first hour. 7802 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 13.5, 1.1 by 0.6 arc minutes, a lenticular spiral class O, 239 million light years distant, plus 6 degrees. We are at 0 hour and 1 minute of 60. And if you're wondering why the NGC 7800 did not end 7840, which will be our last study, why we were still in hour 23, it's because of the precession of the equinox. Since the time the catalog was put together, the Earth has made some progress in terms of its precessional tilt, so that now things no longer line up the way they did over 130 years ago. NGC 7803 is another galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 13.1, 1 by 0.6 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a, 240 million light years distant, puts it probably about 80,000 light years in diameter. It is at plus 13 degrees in declination. We just skipped 7804, that was a star, I believe it was in Pisces. NGC 7805 is actually a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 13.3, 1.2 by 0.9 arc minutes, a spiral with a bar of the lenticular class, 223 million light years distance, probably about 80,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus 31.5 degrees, but fortunately we are not blocking the aperture of the scope at this point. NGC 7806 is a neighbor of NGC 7805. It is a magnitude 13.5 galaxy, 1.1 by 0.8 arc minutes, a spiral with a bar with some peculiarities, and those peculiarities we may just be able to pick out on the screen. We're at 31.5 degrees declination, and this galaxy is 220 million light years distant, which puts it at right about 70 to 80,000 light years in diameter. Our first galaxy in Cetus the Whale, and it's interesting that Cetus the Whale should follow Pisces the Fishes in terms of being a southern-esque constellation. NGC 7807, galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 15.6, smallish, 0.7 by 0.5 arc minutes, 337 million light years distance at minus almost 19 degrees. And in terms of size, it's probably 75,000 light years in diameter. Can't tell you whether or not I could pick it out on the screen, but if it's anywhere, it might be this little fainty right there. NGC 7807. NGC 7808 is another galaxy in Cetus. This is minus almost 11 degrees in declination. The galaxy is a square face-on 1.3 by 1.3 arc minute, 13.5 magnitude, lenticular spiral, 398 million light years distant. It's probably somewhere around 120,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus almost 11 degrees, but we are at 3 minutes and 32 seconds of right ascension. Still swimming with the fishes in Pisces. NGC7809, Galaxy Pisces, magnitude 14.6, 0.5 by 0.4 arc minutes. Was just about to remark that's kind of small for a 14.6 arc minute galaxy, but this one is an irregular that happens to be 857 million light years distant. It's at plus almost 3 degrees. I'm sure hoping we get a good view of this one. I like it when we see something faint and at a distance. The redshift on this probably will be somewhere around 0.05, 0.06, which shifting towards the red on any kind of absorption or emission lines in its spectra. NGC7810 is another galaxy, this time in Pegasus, magnitude 13, 1.2 by 0.9 arc minutes, lenticular spiral, 249 million light years distant. It's at almost plus 13 degrees in declination. NGC7811 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 14.6, smallish, 0.4 by 0.4 arc minutes, an irregular galaxy 341 million light years distant. Makes this rather dwarfish at about 40 to 50,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus 3 and almost a half degrees in declination. Here we're dipping deep south into Sculptor. NGC7812 is a magnitude 13.1, 1.1 by 0.7 arc minute spiral with a lowercase b, some 303 million light years distant. Makes it about as large as our Milky Way. We're at minus 34 degrees on this particular occasion, and the fact we're seeing anything is due to the reality that the sky is just, the galaxies and Sculptor, etc., are about to culminate within the next 15 minutes, I'd say. And the time now is about 10:15, 10:20. NGC7813 is another galaxy in the belly of the whale, Cetus, magnitude 15, 0.8 by 0.3 arc minutes spiral with a lowercase b, 404 million light years distant, puts it pretty much about the size of our own Milky Way. It's at minus almost 12 degrees in declination. Well, we're very fortunate. NGC 7814 is likely to be one of the finer galaxies this evening. And it is up in Pegasus, but it is not being blocked in any way by a roof section. NGC 7814, Galaxy Pegasus, magnitude 10.6, largish, 4.7 by 2.4 arc minutes. So pretty much oblately presented. A spiral with a lowercase ab. Mere 47 million light years distant means this baby's probably somewhere around 60,000 light years in diameter. We are at plus 16 degrees in declination and should be getting a pretty nice view of extended nebulosity. Enjoy. NGC 7816 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.8, 1.7 by 1.5 arc minutes. Spiral with a lowercase bc, 235 million light years distant, puts it at probably at around 110 to 115,000 light years in diameter. We are at plus 7.5 degrees for this vision of the heavens. NGC 7817 is another beauty, kind of edge-on galaxy in Pegasus. Brightish, magnitude 11.8, 3.5 by 1 arc minute, spiral with a lowercase bc, 103 million light years distant, puts it about the size of our own Milky Way. We're at plus almost 21 degrees in declination. Enjoy that view. Here we get another chance to see a galaxy that is its own average surface brightness. NGC 7818 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 14, 1 by 1 arc minutes in size, spiral with a lowercase c, 278 million light years distant, puts it at probably around 80,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus 7 and almost a half degrees in declination. Okay, we're about halfway through the second half of the evening studies with NGC7819, Galaxy and Pegasus. Magnitude 13.5, 1.5 by 1.2, football-shaped spiral with a bar and a lowercase b. It is located 224 million light years distant, which puts it about the size of our own Milky Way galaxy. We are at 31.5 degrees, and I do not believe we're getting any obstruction of the aperture, however, so that is to be appreciated. NGC7820 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.9, 1.3 by 0.6 arc minutes, oblately presented spiral with a lowercase a. 138 million light years distant means this one's probably around 70,000 light years in diameter. We're at plus 5 degrees, 4 minutes and 30 seconds of right ascension, of precessional right ascension in the sky on the horary axis. NGC 7821, we're back in the belly of the whale. Galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14. Nicely presented, 1.4 by 0.5 arc minute spiral with a lowercase c. 330 million light years distant, puts it about 125,000 light years in diameter. We're at minus 16.5 degrees in declination. Skipping over a nebula in Cepheus, 7823, we arrive at NGC 7824. Of course, the nebula was far too north to be captured with the scope. It's a galaxy. This 7824 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 13.2, 1.6 by 1.2 arc minutes, 276 million light year distance spiral with a lowercase ab. This galaxy is probably a little bit larger than our own, probably maybe 105, 110,000 light years in diameter. We are now at plus 7 degrees in declination. Noting at this point that we're not getting as many galaxy groups in this series as we did in the previous one, the 7750 to 7800 series. Here we have galaxy NGC 7825 in Pisces, magnitude 15.5, 1 by 0.5 arc minutes in size, spiral with a bar and a lowercase b. 361 million light years distant, makes it pretty much the size of our own Milky Way galaxy, and I would estimate roughly of about the same luminosity, although I'd have to do the math on that. We're at plus 5, a little more than 5 degrees in declination at this point. So have that look at NGC 7825, possibly a distant twin of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. Skipping over an out-of-range NGC 7826, we proceed to 7827, which was just a little tad of a stepper motor hop galaxy from the 7825. 7827 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 13.9, 1.2 by 0.9 arc minute spiral with a bar, which also happens to be lenticular. 238 million light years distant. I'd estimate it's about 80,000 light years in diameter. We are a little bit above plus 5 degrees in declination and 5 minutes in right ascension. Here we are at NGC 7828, dipping south again in the galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 13.9, 1 by 0.5 arc minute spiral with a lowercase c and a ring. That ring, given both the sky position and the sensitivity settings on the imager, will not be visible to us because it'll probably be somewhere around magnitude 18. The galaxy is 258 million light years distant and is at minus 13.5 degrees, another reason not to expect too great a view of this almost 14th magnitude galaxy. NGC 7829 is probably quite close to 7828. It too has a ring. Perhaps this pair of galaxies is married. Magnitude 13.9, 0.7 by 0.7 arc minutes, the spiral of the lowercase a with that ring. The ring will probably be somewhere around magnitude 17.5. Maybe hints of it on the screen, although the low sky position of minus 13.5 degrees would make that very unlikely. This galaxy, like the other one, is about 253 million light years distant, and it is probably about 60,000 light years in diameter given its remoteness. At some 32.5 degrees declination and nearly culminating, we may get a little bit of blockage of the objective lens on the scope with NGC7831, Galaxy in Andromeda. Magnitude 12.8, 1.5 by 0.3 should give a nice view. Otherwise, spiral with a lowercase b, 230 million light years distant, places it about the size of our own Milky Way. It's at plus 32.5 degrees. We are now progressed 7 minutes and 19 seconds into the 0 hour of right ascension. NGC 7832 also swims with the fishes in Pisces. Magnitude 13.3, 1.9 by 0.1 by 1 arc minute, elliptical, 278 million light years distant, puts it about the size, maybe a little larger than Messier 31, the great Andromeda galaxy, probably around 160,000 light years in this case. It's at minus almost 4 degrees in declination. We should get a pretty decent view because the night sky looks quite transparent, although it's a bit chilly out. NGC 7834, another galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 14.3, 1.1 by 0.8 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase c, 236 million light years distant, means probably somewhere around 75,000 light years in diameter. We are at plus 8 and almost a half degrees in declination. Just a quiet little stepper click away from 7834, I believe, is NGC 7835. And why do I say I believe? Because occasionally I do run into a false entry in the catalog. 7835 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 15.5, smallish, 0.5 by 0.3 arc minutes, a spiral with some peculiarities. It's at plus 8.5 degrees in declination. Well, we're definitely getting a little aperture block with NGC 7836. It's a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13.7, 0.9 by 0.5 arc minutes. It's an irregular at 222 million light years distant, plus 33 degrees. But we should be able to make it out somewhere on the screen, although we aren't getting the full benefit of the scope's light collecting capacity. NGC 7836. Here's an opportunity to test your eye. NGC 7837 is a galaxy in Pisces. That's not the difficulty. The fact that it's magnitude 16 and 0.4 by 0.2 arc minutes is, it's a spiral with peculiarities, 517 million light years distant, which is pretty impressive because at that distance, the one arc minute in size, Messier 31, the Andromeda galaxy, would be magnitude 15. So 0.4 by 0.2 instead of being something like 1 arc minute by 0.5. So once again, 517 million light years distant, magnitude 16, NGC 7837, at plus 8 and almost a half degrees declination. NGC 7837 had a close neighbor. NGC 7838, galaxy Pisces, slightly brighter, magnitude 15.5, a little bit larger, 0.7 by 0.3 arc minutes. You should be able to distinguish them based on their sizes. Spiral with peculiarities. This one's 515 million light years distant, which is probably about 10 to 15 million light years closer if you rely on the redshift data to determine the distance. It's at plus 8 and almost a half degrees. We're at 6 minutes and 53 seconds of right ascension. A little bit of a hop from NGC 7838 and skipping over a star, which was 39, is a galaxy in Pisces. Magnitude 16, slightly smaller, 0.4 by 0.3 arc minutes, simply described as a spiral at plus 8 and 22 minutes and 57 seconds of degree and 7 minutes and 8 seconds of right ascension. As I recall, NGC 7840 is the highest listed entry in Dreyer's NGC catalog. Which brings us to the point where we would ordinarily say that completes the catalog. And if I had started in NGC1, that would be the case, but I do believe I started at NGC6440 sometime very close, sometime in July with this series. So from this point on, I am going to maybe make a change in the nomenclature of the series, and we will begin with a view of NGC1 if, after pressing the next button, it just comes up saying NGC. And the next entry is, in fact, NGC1, which is a galaxy in Pegasus. And why not have a forecasted look at it? So, with Jupiter mounted about halfway up into the sky and Saturn now post-culminatory, we're having a look at the first entry in J.L.E. Dreyer's NGC catalog, NGC1, a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 12.9, 1.7 by 1.2 arc-minutes, spiral with a lowercase b, 202 million light-years distant, which probably means it's about 115,000 light-years in diameter. It's at plus 27.75 degrees. There may be only a shaving of aperture loss due to the roof try. And what we will do is look forward to NGC1 and its brethren and sistren after the next lunar cycle has passed. And the question for me is, will I be spending much time actually doing astro? But I am looking out, and there's Jupiter, and Saturn is pulse-culminatory, and I'll be able to view, and the moon will be in ascending, which means if I reconfigure the scope and I go for magnification, and I might be able to pull down a few images, especially at twilight, because imaging the planets after it's dark tends to be a bit problematic, as well as the moon in terms of contrast, but I'll have no choice when it comes to Jupiter. So this is not to be our carpe noctem moment, however. The night is very clear, very dark, the moon is not an issue. Why not have a look at a few favorites? Here we have an entry from the Messier catalog. Messier 110, Galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 8.1, so one of a handful of galaxies, probably 10 or 20 maximum, that are as bright as magnitude 8. Actually, there may only be about 10 of them. Messier 110 is almost 20 by, let's call it 20 by 11 arc-minutes in size, a mere 3 million light-years distant, probably more like 2.5. Its right ascension is 40 minutes and 22 seconds, and its declination is 41 and 05 seconds. I do not believe we're getting any obstruction of the lens, although we get very close to it. It is possible, however. So there's our view of Messier 110. And let's have another look at Messier 33, as we have on regular occasions during the NGC cycle. Messier 33, of course, is a galaxy in Triangulum. It's about 3 times as large as Messier 110, 68 by 41 arc-minutes. It's also 3 million light-years distant. Magnitude 5.7, whereas Messier 31 itself is magnitude 3.5. 33 is about a little more than a third the size of Messier 31. It's at plus 30 degrees, 39 minutes, 27 seconds. It is at our right ascension, 133.50. There is no blockage of the scope. The galaxy is in the sky's middle third. This is probably as good a view as we might ever get at these settings. which is 128 flood, 42 decibels of auto gain control. And with that, I will bid you adieu, hasta, and carpe noctem.